Yes.
Good evening, friends. On behalf of the Asian Literary Society, I welcome all of you, including our respected panelists, to this third Asian Literary Confluence 2020, which we've been having all day today. And in this session, we are bringing before you the panel discussion that is on the theme How to Popularize Asian Literature in India. Since a lot of people don't know me still, let me just briefly introduce myself. I'm Dr. Aparna Bagwe, a scientist who spent all my work life at the Tata Memorial Center in Mumbai at its Advanced Center for Treatment, Research and Education in Cancer. Since I retired in October 2018, I have focused on my passions, which include travel, photography, wildlife, and of course, writing. I'm here today as administrator of the Asian Literary Society and associate editor of its journal of Asian Arts, Culture and Literature, Jackal. We are honored to have with us today as panelists three stalwarts in the literary arena, and I would like to introduce them to you. Dr. Amarendra Khatua, former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Dr. Khatua did his schooling in Sambalpur, Orissa, followed education from Delhi University. A 1981 batch officer of the Indian Foreign Service, Dr. Khatua has been a quiet but immensely focused, now retired diplomat. During his 35-year-long diplomatic career, he has held varied positions in the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi and in its Indian missions abroad. He has served as Ambassador of India to Argentina with concurrent accreditation to Uruguay and Paraguay and also to many other countries. He has served in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, in the Planning Commission, and in the Ministry of Industry. He has also held the prestigious positions of Dean Foreign Service Institute, Director General Indian Council for Cultural Relations, and Secretary on Special Assignment at NEA until he retired in 2017. Dr. Khatua has been keenly interested in writing since his teens and has managed to carry this interest with him throughout his work life too. He has, to his credit, 14 published collections of poetry in Odia and 3 in English. He writes and reviews books in English, Odia, and Spanish. He has written in Hindi too, and his work "Ek Kavi Ko Khamosh Ho Jana," published by Prakashan, is widely appreciated in poetry circles. Translations of his writing and reviews have been published in many Indian languages and also in Spanish and Russian. Dr. Khatua, I'd like to begin with a very simple question. How did you manage to incorporate writing into your busy life as a diplomat?
Uh, See, basically, you have like over introduced me. I'm a small, basically, my school education is limited. I'm writing since 19, early when I was 14, 15, and publishing since then. In fact, I used to write with Ramakant Rath, Sitakant Mahapatra when they were nothing. Issue is that I joined foreign service because I did not want power, and that gave me lots of time. I have almost 50 books in Oriya, English, Hindi, and Spanish. But I believe, like Mr. Thomas is there, Kumar, Vikram is there. Each of them are literary persona in their own way. It basically comes from inside. And then also, my foreign service gave me opportunity to interact with lots of people who inspired me. Say, I have met just now the Nobel Prize winner Glick, not Glock. The pronunciation is Glick. Like I translated her in Oriya. I know her from my New York days, and we never thought she will get Nobel Prize. This kind of opportunity also helps us to strengthen or create more. It's kind of inspiration. And second
Very
part is that,
nice.
like, see your case, a scientist, how much literary activities you are doing now. You inspire us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like now to introduce the second panelist, Dr. A.J. Thomas, guest editor, Sahitya Academy. Kerala-born Dr. A.J. Thomas has an MPhil and PhD in English Translation Studies. He is a widely acclaimed Indian poet and fiction writer who writes in English. He regularly publishes poetry, short fiction, translations, book reviews, and features on literary and cultural matters in journals, magazines, and websites in India and abroad. His work has appeared in the prestigious poetry anthology named The Dance of the Peacock, published by Hidden Brook Press, Canada. He has also extensively translated poetry, fiction, and drama from his mother tongue Malayalam. The translation of Paul Zakaria's story Salam America brought him the Katha Award. He has also been awarded the AKMG Prize, and he has won the Vodafone Crossword Book Award 2007 for his translation of M. Mukundan's novel Keshavan's Lamentations. Dr. Thomas has been closely associated with the Sahitya Akademi, which is, as we all know, India's National Academy of Letters under the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. He was the editor of its bi-monthly English journal, Indian Literature, and he continues to be guest editor honorary of this journal. He is also a permanent member on the panel of literary translations at the Sahitya Academy. Dr. Thomas, another simple question for starters. My question to you is, what has been more satisfying for you? Writing, your own writing, or the translations that you do?
Thanks, Dr. Aparna. It's a very impressive background that I heard about you, and you now concentrating on literature, giving all your energies for promoting literature is exemplary. And I thank Manoj for this opportunity to speak here. Yeah, if you ask me, my first choice is always for writing. I was just telling Kumar a little while ago, you see, to write my own works, I'll have to now regulate time. I don't know, because this Indian literature is it's 200 odd pages every 2 months. It takes a lot of energy from you. You can't just play with something. You have to be very. So that kind of energy is needed for that, and then what remains, to write your own works. If it's poetry, it happens in between. But for long form fiction, for example, you have to really dedicate your time. So if you ask me, I will prefer to do my own writing. But now that I'm in it and been in Sahitya Academy for the last 23 years, more or less, Indian literature all the time. I was out of India for about 6 years teaching in Libya. I was teaching in the Benghazi University. That was the only time I was out of Sahitya Academy. But during the revolution, the Libyan revolution, I came back to Sahitya Academy and I started doing it as a guest editor. And so that is the kind of mind I have. And about translations, it goes on. I am not a professional translator in that sense, because I don't take up translation projects and for money or something like that. Most of the things I've
Obviously, have a
translated
flair
till
for
now
it.
is friends requesting me, writer friends requesting me, and I obliging them. For example, this M. Mukundan's Keshavan's Lamentations, because we are so thick friends. I've been friends for so long. So I'll always oblige my friend. Like Perumbadavam Sridharan, which you mentioned here, is that like a psalm that is out of pure love I have done that. This is the kind of translation I have, and almost poetry translation. That's also to oblige or to uphold or to keep my friends close to me. That's why I will do
Correct.
it.
But it's writing that's your first love. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
writing is right. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll now introduce our third panelist, Mr. Kumar Vikram, editor at the National Book Trust, India. Brought up in Muzaffarpur in Bihar, Kumar Vikram writes poetry in English and Hindi. is a publishing editor, translator, conversationalist, and blogger. For the last 2 decades, he has been working as senior editor English with the National Book Trust India, prestigious national body for book publishing and book promotion in India. His publications include Short Essays, which is a collection of essays, and T.S. Eliot, an intensive study of selected poems, which he co-authored with Professor Kumar. He is also author-translator of 4 books, including the one that I mentioned just now. He has been awarded the prestigious Sakha Awards for his individual contribution towards the documentation of the rights catalogue of books on Indian cinema, Point of View, published by NBT. He has read poetry at various national and international platforms, including at the Sahitya Akademi, SARC Writers Forum, Indo-Estonian Literary Society, Indian Society of Authors, and many more, and has appeared on panel discussions in the electronic media such as Lok Sabha TV, Doordarshan, etc. Mr. Kumar Vikram, your question. Does your work with the National Book Trust infringe in any way upon your own writing?
Thank you, Dr. Bagwe, for your introduction, and thank you, Dr. Khatua and Mr. Thomas, for the introductory remarks. Uh, Infringe is not the word. I mean, it's the opposite way. It actually, our work at National Book Trust has actually enriched me as a writer, as a translator, or as a it has widened my perspective on so many matters. In fact, I would be very frank and admit that I was a student of English literature, and I studied at the University of Delhi under the quote unquote old syllabus. So old syllabus means that in that classical, traditional, conventional English literature structure and idiom, I was brought up. And when I joined National Book Trust, it was a kind of it was a pleasure as well as shock to be introduced to the various kinds of literatures and other kinds of writings being done in Indian languages. The only Indian language with which the literature of which I was associated and I had known was, of course, the Hindi literature, which is my mother tongue. But I was not aware of the vast variety and the richness of the contemporary writings in so many Indian languages. And then as time passed on, and I got associated with so many events internationally, and then one got exposed to the international scene. I would really say that if at all I write, and if at all I translate, or if at all I do my poetry, my work actually, my official work actually has enriched me in whatever I do.
Thank you. So, coming to the topic of today's panel discussion, we know that there have been a very large number of excellent and widely read writers from Asia, be it the Far East, Middle East, Central Asia, West Asia, and South Asia, of course, including India. We've had Asian writers from Japan, Yasunari Kawabata and Kenzaburo Oe, who won the Nobel Prize, as has our own Rabindranath Tagore. Over the years in India, we have had many writers who write beautifully and are recognized as such. We've had R.K. Narayan, Mulk Raj Anand in the past. Then in the middle years, we've had Arundhati Roy, Vikram Seth. And now we have a whole gamut of authors across the spectrum. And in fact, bookstores in India today are flooded with books by Indian writers. But coming to the topic of this discussion, do readers in India still prefer books originating in the West? Or is literature originating in Asia and India, whichever you'd like to take it? If you want to take this discussion pan Asia, we can do that, or we can restrict it to India. So do you feel that the literature originating here is now at par and finds an eager readership? We'll start with Dr. Khatua. What are your thoughts on this, Dr. Khatua?
Uh, just 1 second.
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, unfortunately, when we are talking about South Asian literature, every year we produce almost 57,000 international. For example, South Asia produces almost 87,000 books. But unfortunately, till date, we have only one Nobel Prize winner. That is Rabindranath Tagore.
Sir,
Second
unmute.
is,
Please unmute yourself.
most of the South Asian writers are obsessed to be known in the Western audience. Third, we have a right person from NDT, Sahitya Akademi, but unfortunately, except India and Bangladesh, most of the literary trends of other South Asian countries are not common. The trends are different. Say about Pakistan, say about Bhutan, say about Sri Lanka. Therefore, time has come. We must have three-pronged approach. One, organization like Sahitya Academy or government ministry in charge of promotion of literature should have an action plan for translation of literature of South Asian countries on exchange basis. Second, we have publications both in private sector, public sector, like NBT.
Yes.
We can have arrangement to pick up South Asian writers who need to be publicized in other countries. So today, please pick up like about 10, 20 people, ask them who are the best well-known poets in Sri Lanka. They won't be able to answer. At least 8 of them have been shortlisted for major in Pakistan. Ask them who are the best novelists. 8, 9 novelists. Very few of us can say them.
Yeah,
Then
Dr.
third
Khatua,
is,
sorry to interrupt you,
yeah,
but can we take this piecemeal? For example, what we'll do is I'll come to what we can do also in my next few questions. But right
okay,
now,
okay.
what I was hoping from you is, do you feel that the literature originating here has an eager readership to begin with in India itself? And we'll go on to the next part of it later. Do you think
Oh,
that we
no,
have
that
an
is the point I was making. The
yes,
point is the English literature per se is one along with the regional literature. Like if it is not people like Mr. Thomas, how do you know Mukundan? He's very good. That is the
right,
point I'm making.
right. Dr. Joseph, can we have your
Dr.
point of
Thomas.
view on
Yeah,
this?
you
Dr.
can call
Thomas.
me Thomas. My name is Thomas. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Can I have your
Yeah.
views on this?
Yeah. You see, this is. I was just listening to Khatua Sahib's, reference to readership. How eager the readers are. There are two kinds of readers. What we are talking about essentially, about promoting is literary fiction. We have popular fiction and we have literary fiction. In India, I think the most readership goes for popular fiction. Literary fiction is a work of art kind of thing. It's like you are promoting painting or sculpture. So it's like you are sculpting with words or you're painting with words. That's what you do in literature proper. So the market for that kind of thing, if the artist is so very good, it will just go like that. Like in the case of Vikram said, or Arundhati Roy, there are just a few names, few names in English. But in the languages, like again, like Dr. Khatua said, how do I know Mukundan? How do I know other regional writers? Because I am a bilingual writer, I can translate. And that's another thing. We have rich literature in our languages. What we are talking about is mostly, when you see, writing in writing in English. That's only one part of it. The vast majority of, like Maila Anchal by Faniswaran, this is a centenary, birth centenary year, and Kumar would know. That such a great name like Vaigamahoul Bashir from Kerala. There are so many like Syed Abdul Malik from Assam. Big names. Only that they don't have the kind of translators that most of our maybe popular had, or that kind of a dedicated attempt to translate and promote them. That is not yet there. So we get a lot of South American, Latin American fiction translated into English. Masterworks. Because the translation is good, because Marquez himself has said about his translator that the translation is better than the original, that kind of thing. So
you feel we have a mature audience, and if regional literature is brought before them, they will buy it. Hello?
Hello.
Can you all hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, as I was
what
mentioning,
we are
I
to
think Mr.
concentrate.
Thomas.
Yes. I think probably Dr. Thomas has issues
Hello?
with his mic. I will
Yeah,
ask the
can you hear
same
me?
question. Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, so you feel we have a
Yes,
mature
yes.
audience
Can you
and
hear
they would
me?
like to.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
I can't hear you properly. So am I audible?
Yeah, you are
Yes.
audible.
Okay.
Please go on.
So my point is, we have to identify the best fiction that is written in the languages and arrange for their translation by a very good translator or a set of translators and promote that. And we have the Sahitya Academy was doing it, Indian literature abroad. That program was there. I don't know how active it is now, because I'm not full-fledged Sahitya Academy person now. I'm only editing into literature. I don't have that kind of understanding of the functioning of the Sahitya Academy at that level now. But they were doing, when U.R. Ananthamurthy, the great writer, Kannada writer, was the president of the Sahitya Academy, he had set up Indian literature abroad, which contained, there was a team of experts. They would select the books from all languages, promote them in the main European languages like French, Spanish, Italian, German. So that was the beginning. That is how it began. But I don't know they state now. But this is something that we have to, this kind of a work that we have to do pointedly. That's the way we have to promote literature in the Asian region, for example. And there are also other things like Sark Festival. For example, this Ajit Kaur, what Ajit Kaur has been doing all this while. You meet, because I think Kumar, you also must have been there in the Ajit Kaur's. So you meet a lot of Khatua Sahib was there. I've seen him there. So you mix with a lot of writers from all the Sark countries, and how strong they are, how strong their poetry is, how strong their fiction is. That kind of an exchange has been going on for the last 20-25 years. But I don't know what initiative has been taken to promote literature through mutual translations or spreading. That's an excellent forum for exchange of translation works and propagating the literature of the participant countries. But
Dr.
all this
Thomas,
happening at that
yes.
level, is short of funding. That this kind of pointed attention, pointed focused projects, these things only will see kind of surge or boom like the South American boom was there. Our regional writing is very good, strong, but only that we have to know how to promote our good writing.
Yes, Dr. Thomas, thanks for your thoughts. I'll move on
I'll
to
come back again. You can,
yes,
I think,
we will be going the
carry on
rounds.
with Kumar
Meanwhile,
Vikram.
Mr. Kumar Vikram, what are your thoughts on this?
See, right now we are talking about the promotion of Indian literature abroad, but I will come back to the original topic, which is the popularizing Asian literature in India. And your first query related to National Book Trust, where I talked about how it has enriched it. I would also say that when you work at the platform of National Book Trust or platforms like National Book Trust, uh, you get a peek into the de-glamorized world of literature. You know, when as a literary person or as a reader, we are only thinking about the art and craft of it, and uh, what kind of literary and social context in which it has been written, what is the plot, what is the characterization, and all, so on and so forth. But when you are in the publishing world and you are interacting with the international publishers, you actually you find that there is a whole world of agents. There is a whole world of nuances related to cultural diplomacy, where the promotion of books is also a part of promotion of soft power of each country. And then you find that how each country is trying to promote their literatures through a lot of strategies, a lot of I would say well thought out strategies, which also includes uh, giving funds for translation of their works into our languages. And so you also try to do that. We also have Dr. Thomas talked about the Indian literature abroad scheme of Sahitya Akademi. We also have a financial assistance program for the foreign publishers. Then ICCR is also there, and there are some other bodies who are also trying to do that. So in the same way, the other countries, and especially I would say a country like China, they have invested a lot in promoting their literature in various parts of the world. And even a country like say Korea, I mean, they have a Indian cultural center here, and they are promoting Korean cultural center here, and they are promoting their work. And then you realize that in these countries, say in Korea, there's a poet called Ko Un, who is every year there is a kind of a expectation about him getting a Nobel Prize, and we don't know when would that happen. But when we say Asia, it's too big. India in itself is too big, and then when we're talking about Asia, right from the we had this guest of honor presentation of India at Abu Dhabi International Book Fair last year, which National Book Trust was coordinating, and we had a very big roundtable of Indo and Arabic publishers. And then there you realize that we say Arab, but actually Arabic, the way Arabic is spoken in UAE is so much different from the way it is spoken, say, in Egypt. And then you realize that in the Arab world, intellectually, culturally, it is Egyptian publishers who actually call the shots. And they are the people who, because they are it's kind of it's a center of Arabic culture and literature. And you need to understand all the nuances. And then what happens that uh, uh, and it is an international trend. and you will be very surprised to know that if you have an Arabic scholar of India who has translated, say, a Malayalam work into Arabic or a Hindi work into Arabic, that is not likely to be taken up by an Arabic publisher, because they would say that Arabic as it is spoken in different parts of Arabic world is different. The way it is spoken or written in UAE is quite different from Egypt. So if you want to promote your work in Egypt, then you should get it translated by an Egyptian translator who is a native of that country. And then you confront all these things. And I believe that when it comes to the promotion of literature of other countries into India, the time has come that we also sort of I wouldn't say, but we should make it a point to underline that if you want a Korean work, or if you want a Thai work, or if you want an Arabic word to be translated and promoted into Hindi or in Malayalam, then somehow we need to find a translator who is a native Indian and who knows Korean, and who should be this way. What a culture of translation and exchange, and also a kind of I would say projection of your own soft power, and the network of professional translators that you have created. All these things come into play. And I believe that the issue that we are discussing has layers within layers, and at the end of the day, ultimately, I would say the quality matters. If you have a international quality of work, say even in Malayalam or Hindi or Bangla, then ultimately it will cross over. It will be somehow able to overcome all these linguistics and practical and market barriers, and it will come out before the public sooner, if not today, then tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar Vikram. So my next area that I want to touch upon is, we know that to entire generations of writers today, English is the first language. When they write, they bring the ethos of Indian society alive. So do readers seek out India-based stories? Dr. Khatua?
Yeah.
Dr. Khatua, do you think that readers seek out India-based stories? Dr. Thomas, would you like to take that question?
Can you repeat that?
See, we know that English is the first language to a generation of Indians today. And
Yeah.
when they write, they bring the ethos of Indian society alive.
Okay.
Do readers in India seek out India-based stories? When I'm talking about seek out, I mean, do they buy books where the setting is totally Indian? Or do you have a small percentage of readers going in for that?
I think
And
the
can that be
market plays
changed?
an important role. What you read. It is all very well to say that the second generation or third generation think of
We are
the Indian
losing
theme,
connections.
or that is potential market. But
Yes.
I don't think that kind of a market is active now. You know what? We, for example, we here in India, we are looking to the West for, in spite of all the richness that we have around.
Yes.
And they correspondingly, they don't look towards the East like in the past. They used to look at our spices and our the exotic India. The exotic literature, they are not looking at. This is my unless you promote, unless you present your literature in a very aggressive promotional way, they won't. I think the West, for example, will not look for something that is written in India unless it is sold well. The
Correct.
21st century marketing has to work there. That is the only
So
way.
are
I
book
think so.
agencies selling it?
It
The
is.
big
It's a kind of
agencies?
promotion. It's a kind of like a product. You promote your literature. That's the only way. That is the only language that the West knows. The kind of market-oriented approach that they have. Unless it is attractive, unless it is packaged well, unless it is presented well, they will not look at it. It's very simple. But we can, we have very strong metropolitan or towns and cities based English-speaking, West-oriented, capitalist-minded, consumerist-minded people. If they put their energies into promoting our literature, it will work. Many of our products are going abroad like that. Like our software being sold out. Like that. But I think very few people have faith, trust in the quality of our kind of literature, because they are all professional. They are not in literature. They are in many other things, but not literature. So these things count a lot. What I have seen, because I've been to all these, like Kumar was saying a little while ago about this South Korean cultural center. I've been to Korea on invitation 3 times. Once I was made, me and a few of people like me from other Asian countries, we were made honorary fellows of the culture department. They have dedicated cultural literature translation centers. Writers in residence are promoted. All that was there from 2005 to about 2014, when Parks, when the dictator's daughter became the president, somehow that declined. Like Ko-un, I have met him so many times. So such persons are there in Korea, but for the last 5 years, I think things are not all that good there, because the Spark Foundation was active, but something has happened. So as I used to go between 2008 and 2012, I went to Korea 3 times on invitation. All that, and there's a great book fair called the Paju Book Fair Festival, and lots and lots of people from the Far East and the Southeast Asia area come there with it. So it's one of the most interesting book fairs in the world, because it's an entire city.
Again, once again,
where you don't see. That's what I was coming to. Where you don't see not even a single book from India. You don't, and they are trying to get our books translated into Korean. That is the reason why we were invited there, and I have given a list. I think they were working on that, and I don't know, somehow funds dried up, and that's one instance I know. That is one really solid effort from the part of the government and the private sector together. I don't know. I think we can, if the private sector, like the Tatas, for example, if a very strong foundation is set up for the promotion of literature through translation or through marketing, whatever, that will take. But what the government can do is, I think, limited to what Sahitya Academy or NBT or IGNCA is doing. Now at one certain point, you get kind of what to say, saturated and officialdom. These things are there. These are things to be admitted.
We are running out of time now. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dr.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Go on. I've said what I wanted to say.
We have time only till 7:40. It's 7:40 now.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to take a quick comment from Dr. Khatua and from Mr. Kumar Vikram on this. So you feel the big bodies should take an effort to take our good literature overseas to popularize it. Do you agree? Do you want to add something, Dr. Khatua?
All the points what Mr. Thomas made is all right. The 3 things: government has its own work, NBT, Sahitya Academy. 2, SARC is there in Nepal. Let's have a SARC fund for translation of South Asian literature. 3, one must understand that we must translate our literature in English mostly for the Asian countries, and in regional literature in reverse. For that, what Mr. Thomas said, lots of individual ISR, CSR initiative can be taken to have organized translation program. What Ajit does, the South Asian Festival, that kind of festival can be organized in all parts of India, which can later on result through individual contact of the authors. Say, for example, during Pujo, lots of Orissa, Bengal, and different places, you have special issues of the magazines, but very few will be the translated issues. They will be original. Like in Kerala, Maharashtra, lots of magazines come out. Like as Kumar Vikram said, like last president of Sahitya Akademi, dear friend of mine, Mr. Tiwari, he made an effort, but despite that, many magazines did not publish those translation things. So one is focus, second is government effort, third is individual efforts, fourth is corporate and individual social responsibility. It is lots to be done. When we talk about Asian literature, it's a huge thing. Basically, what we want to speak here is how we can popularize Asian literature in India and reach out our literature to different countries. Let us start from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kumar Vikram, your
Yeah,
thoughts on
I
this?
just want to make a quick remark because Dr. Thomas talked about this Paju Book City Festival. You know, in the Paju Book City, when you visit it, you will see the the panorama and the scale at which an entire book city has been conceived and has been placed there, where all the major publishers are there with their editorial departments, with their production houses, production teams, even with their warehouses. Everything is within the city. It's kind of a special economic zone, and then this kind of festival also takes place. What I mean to say is that behind the entire behind the scene, there is a whole lot of planning and where all the market and other practical aspects have been well thought out. And this is something that if book gets that kind of high priority in our scheme of things, we would also be able to do that. And then there would be a better, I would say, a promotion of Asian literature into India and Indian literature in other Asian countries and other, at least major Asian countries. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With this, I'm afraid we have reached the time when we have to end this very interesting session. I know
Thank you.
that I myself would have loved to
Thank
listen
you.
to more of it because it's a very
Thank
interesting
you.
topic. On behalf
Thank
of
you,
the
ALS, for this
Thank you.
Literary
session.
Society, I would
I think
like
we
to
should
thank
Thank you,
all.
we should
Kumar
be beginning. I think
Vikramji.
there should
Thank
be
you so
more,
much.
Thank you,
Dr.
sir.
Bagwe.
elaborate. Yeah.
Yes.
Good
Yeah.
evening.
Thank
you.
you. So, Khatua
Thank
sir, see you soon.
See you soon.
Kumar, see you soon.